Right, welcome to University and Everything in Between. We're on episode 12. We're really getting through now, which is good. I was planning to talk on this episode more about YouTube and someone who's gone sort of through it and then back out the other side and returned to like normality almost. So I'm interested to talk to you about that as well. I want to talk about obviously mental health and something that I've been absolutely buzzing for like weeks since I spoke to you is to talk about your gig photography, because honestly I find it so inspiring and so exciting, so I'm really excited to talk about that. So if you don't know who I'm speaking to right now, it's Liv Rook. You obviously, as I've already mentioned, gig photographer. You were, rose to success and got to know people like Eve Bennett and Molly Thompson. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me. This is super exciting.
I hope so. Oh, this is just a little project that I've just decided to do whilst at home with nothing else to do. So why not? And
really
it
cool.
seems to, it seems to have got me in touch with people that I don't think I would have ever met any other way. But I'm really excited to speak to you, and I just thought we'd start off from the beginning, get to know you a bit more. Because I could use with a bit of the context for those who are listening as well. So like starting from like A level, what would you say that your plan was, if you can call it a plan? Because I feel like everyone starts to feel like they need to have a plan around A level time about like where they're going to end up, career wise and stuff like that. Did you have a rock solid plan of what you wanted to do, or was it more just like you'll see what happens and just go with the flow almost?
You know what? The one solid part of my plan was that I didn't want to go to university. I didn't want to do a degree, which was quite funny because I was head girl at my school, and it's kind of traditional for a head girl to go to uni, and especially at my school it's like you have to go to Oxbridge. So that was the only solid part of my plan. At that point I knew I wanted to do an art foundation because I didn't know what job I wanted, and I didn't want to dedicate myself to a uni degree. So I just went for the art foundation, and that was it really. And it was only after my A-levels that I realised that gig photography was a thing, and that is what I wanted to get involved with really. So I didn't even know that before A-levels or during A-levels. So yeah, that was my plan.
Your plan, yeah.
Yeah.
I find it interesting though when you talk about like the expectation and the fact that you were head girl. Do you feel like generally there's a pressure to go to university whether you might like it or not? And do you almost sympathise with people who go to university and end up hating it and probably in their eyes wasting that time that they've done? I
really do. I think, with a lot of schools, I think the only sort of schools that don't really push people to go towards academics in university are those that are like solely creative schools. Like the Brit School, for example, I know that they don't like push you to go straight into uni because there are other ways around like creative jobs, I think. But I really do sympathise with those who get stuck in uni and like sort of get forced to go, because first of all, you're spending $9,000 a year on this. Second
it's
of all,
a lot of money.
It's a lot of like stress being like going to your parents, for example, and being like, I'm not enjoying this. I want to drop out. That's a lot of mental stress. And yeah, like I think it's very hard to explain what uni entails. Like a lot of my friends are very academic, but there are some that are really absolutely hating it because you just don't know what's going to happen until you get there. So yeah, completely sympathise with those who didn't actually want to go to uni but felt pressured to by school.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I've talked to people who, as you say, are very academic and going to university is like their plan and that's what they want to do. But then people who are on the more practical side, who like the creative stuff, and I think it's really inspiring that you finally figured out the gig photography stuff, because you can see it in people when they find something really that they're really passionate about, and it's almost like that light bulb moment. And I almost wonder, not a lot of people also get into the YouTube side of things whilst studying. was a YouTube a part of that, like trying to dip into things, trying to find what you were passionate about, and seeing whether it turned into something that then you would end up love?
I think so, you know. I was 14 and I really enjoyed watching YouTube, and I remember being in this history class and two of my friends were like, you know what, you'd be a sick YouTuber, and that's how I made my YouTube channel. And I just think everything along the way, like I really enjoyed doing, like making the channel art and like making an end card and all the graphics sort of side
Don't
of
we
it.
all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think like subconsciously that was the first thing that I sort of did to try out being creative and seeing if I could actually keep this up. Yeah, I didn't really think about it. I just enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, it's a cool compliment that someone was like, "Oh yeah, you look like you'd be a good YouTuber." Like straight
I know,
off the bat.
it's because I used to joke. I used to joke and be like an American YouTuber at school, you know, taking the piss out of these YouTubers, and then two of my friends are actually like, "I actually think you'd be quite sick at it, so give it a try," and I did.
What was the original purpose of the channel? Like, I gather, because I've done a bit of research on it, and it looks like one of those classic channels where you do like fashion hauls. I'm guessing you did that once upon a time.
Yeah.
And you do like, you're smiling like, yeah, I did that once. I've never actually watched one. I think I understand the general gist of what they're meant to be, but don't think it's aimed at people like me. And you do the study videos and stuff. Was that the eventual aim of what the channel was supposed to be about, like helping people through exams? You were sort of part of that niche of people that you met at that time, like Molly and Eve. I didn't actually ask whether you knew them before you started YouTube or whether you met them because of YouTube.
Met them because of YouTube, and that's just so sick. Like that's always going to be, if someone asks me like what is the main pro of having a YouTube channel or like being part of YouTube, is the friends that you make, because I have a whole friendship group just from making a channel online, which is sick. And I know that they're going to be friends for life, and they're going to be, I don't think I'll get married, but one of them will, and I'll be at their wedding.
Oh, you're being very down on yourself.
No, I just don't think I want to get married anymore. That's just what I've been thinking recently, but who knows? Never say never.
We could get into like a whole branching off conversation about.
I know.
Like,
I'm so sorry. I'm so bad
about
at this.
marriage and. It's a different podcast entirely. You know what? I don't know.
Well, then you're in the same boat as me.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. That is a tricky question. I'm not sure if people going to university can relate to that.
No. Next question. Let's go.
Oh dear me. But yeah, why did you make the channel in the first place?
I just enjoyed it really. Again, it was just a sort of subconscious creative journey, and I never knew it was going to become like a study or lifestyle channel. I just enjoyed watching beauty and fashion videos, and that's how I started off. I feel like not every girl anymore, but like back in 2014, obviously Zoella was the most popular beauty and fashion vlogger, and you just sort of be like, oh, if I want to be successful on YouTube, I've got to do the same as her. So I feel like every girl YouTuber sort of started off in the same boat. And I just think I went into like helping students, if you will, when I was going through the studying, going through GCSEs, going through A-levels, because that is what was going on in my life. And I just feel like when people can relate to you, that's when your content's the best. So yeah, it just happened.
Yeah, and funny you mentioned like other beauty YouTubers around that time. If you want to get famous and make a lot of money, clearly just making a calendar with 12 doors and really cheap really cheap gifts is something to go for.
Should have brought my cup of tea up here. Unfortunately, got a Pepsi.
That is pretty old news though, to be fair. I love Jack Mate. I love Jack Mate's video on that. That went viral.
He's funny.
Yeah. But how did you deal with that exam stress and stuff? Because personally, talking to a lot of these people who do this study project thing or their study tube project, right? and I respect it. It looks pretty cool. But I never did anything like that. Like the idea of sitting and watching like an 18-hour video of someone else studying.
It stresses me out.
Just like, it's just like, don't make me feel so inadequate, please. I never did any of that sort of stuff. So I can't really particularly say that I'm like a guru on how to pass exams and do well. Saying that, I did okay in my A-levels, and I got to where I wanted to go. But like, should people be able to just deal with the stress of exams? Should it, is it something that you had to face with a lot? How did you deal with it?
Definitely didn't deal with it. There was a segment on my channel during A-levels where I would dance around my room to like popular songs, and that was me having my breakdown. Like, that was me having my stress meltdown on YouTube.
Get some cathartic song.
I also think like study tubers deal with the stress as well. Like, just because they're academic and they do really well, like there's so much stress to do with doing well, especially if you put it on YouTube. Like, I know my friends who are study tubers, they feel immense pressure to do well in exams because that's what people expect from you. If you're calling yourself a study tuber, you're basically saying, this is what I specialise in, this is what I'm meant to be good at. And, even if you're like Eve Bennett, who's sick, like she's so smart and she goes to Oxford, but
yeah, she makes me feel very inadequate.
Try being friends with her, because that's even worse.
I've got to talk to her next week.
I know, that one will be a lot better than mine. Mine will be a lot messier than her podcast, I promise you that. But yeah, she goes to Oxford, and it's a really stressful place because you're surrounded by these academic people all stressing out at the same time. So you're always going to stress. I just think if you're not stressing, you're not human, because it is just, a sort of natural way of expressing yourself and reacting to something that's as high intensity as exams. That makes sense.
Yeah. I think speaking to Jade as well, she said she felt that pressure to, because you make a brand around being excellent at like education and exams and results. There must be quite a significant amount of stress that goes into receiving those results.
For sure.
Did you pick up any like little nuggets of advice or tips from knowing like Eve and stuff that she's imparted onto you that whilst you were doing those exams or whilst you've been doing the foundation degree, or just generally that you feel like in like a process of osmosis you've just absorbed like useful advice?
I think something that I really appreciated from Eve and Lydia, because they're in like my main friendship group, is that you're going to have on and off days. And I feel like our group chat, we all like to have a bit of a rant on the group chat because we're just there for each other. And whenever I'm just feeling really like unproductive, demotivated, I really feel like I'm the only one out of the group that isn't successful when I have those days, because they're just incredible. They just get on with it. They are so productive. But then they remind me that a lot of them just don't go on their phone when they're feeling that way, and they just have a complete break because this is their job. Whereas because I'm not a YouTuber anymore, I don't really do social media, it's not really my job, I go on my phone for leisure more. But yeah, like just advice, like we're not all the same, we don't all have the same strengths and weaknesses. I'm probably better at some things than them, and they're better at like being productive. They're better at being productive than me. So yeah, you just have to take it on the chin and just be yourself.
Without sounding too defeatist, I think I'm in awe of your gig photography, and I'd like to see them try, to be frank. Because what I'm going to be doing later on in the show is I've had my own experience with photographers taking photos of me on stage, and I've got some hilarious examples to show you that hopefully you're going to laugh at. But because it's just mean. No, honestly, it's hilarious. But in a video, I wanted to move on to talk more about YouTube, seeing as you've nicely started talking about that. In a video that was featured, I can't remember whose channel, maybe it was Eve or Molly. It was a while ago that you were talking, you were sort of discussing YouTube, you were sort of playing a few games, you were eating like McDonald's, and everyone in the comments loved you in that video.
Oh yeah, me and my ketchup bowl.
Yeah, they loved you. And they got onto a piece of conversation where they were talking about them as creators sort of reaching their peak, as it were. They felt like that they were in that generation of YouTubers across, GCSEs and A-levels, that they'd sort of personally reached that peak, and whether they were going to perhaps stop YouTube. You went on to that topic about that. And obviously you then ended up actually stopping YouTube. I think that video came out a year in that period that you actually stopped. When did you decide that perhaps YouTube wasn't something that you wanted to pursue anymore?
I don't think there was, a decisive day. It was over that year period where I'd sort of go on the group chat and be like, guys, like, don't think this is for me. I don't have any motivation to do this. Someone's being mean on social media and it's not motivating me to do anything. And then I think, I was in a toxic relationship at the time, and I think that was just my year of deciding stuff. I was like, I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. Don't want to do YouTube. I do want to do gig photography. And I just think that's normal, isn't it? Like, it's a normal part of growing up. And if you don't have a YouTube channel, you will have similar thoughts about things when you're like 18. You're going to be deciding about who's your friend, who's actually not your friend, uni choices, whatever. So yeah, I probably thought about it over that year period, really.
Did you ever wish that it had been more successful than let's say it had been, or matched the success level of people that you were friends with?
Oh, for sure. Like, I think if I was that successful, I would have kept it going. It's just people don't realise how much effort goes into making a video and trying to
tell me about it.
Yeah. Trying to get it seen, trying to get it on the algorithm, trying to get on like the main page, whatever. And I'm very jealous. I'm very envious of my friends' lifestyles, because unfortunately I've had to work a normal job as a lifeguard, scrubbing toilets sometimes, properly like breaking a sweat cleaning and having to be in a work environment for 12 hours at a time, whereas these guys get paid a lot of money and go on holidays flexibly, don't have to ask for annual leave, sort of like have a lot more freedom. So yeah, for sure, like if I was more successful, I'd probably would have kept it going. I'm not afraid to say that I am jealous of my friends because they have a sick life. Not saying that I don't have a sick life, but no, I'm very envious.
I know what you mean. Yeah, it is appealing.
It is really
I think
appealing
to a lot of people. But I mean, I've been finding out a lot more about the behind the scenes stuff of YouTube and what it's like to be like that, and it's not always fun and games and stuff like that. Has it ever, I mean, I'm not looking for like tea here, but has it ever gotten to a point where you've been that jealous or that envious about things that they're doing, that it's maybe come to a head, or that you've wished you've regretted something? Or
I don't think I've ever been like that jealous. It's just there's been, I wouldn't say clashes, it's just there's been like visible differences between having sort of a normal job and being a YouTuber. Like, for example, when we're all planning a holiday, there's like two of us, me included, who find it very hard to be able to just like dedicate to a holiday, because we have to ask for annual leave, we have to make sure we have enough money in the bank. There's a lot more planning involved in going on holiday with my kind of job, and that's only when it sort of comes about. And then there's also like fear of missing out, because a lot of the time you actually can't go on a holiday or you can't see your friends because of it. So it's not like jealousy. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh, you can't believe you have a YouTube channel, can't believe you're doing this to me. Like, I'd never do that because that's just silly, and like that's not how I feel. It's just, you know, it's frustrating. That's what I'd say. Like, it's frustrating that I don't have as much freedom because I love seeing them. They're my absolute babes. Like, I wish I could see them more. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, speaking about going on holiday, like they probably get it paid for if they asked for
sometimes.
it.
Sometimes they do get a paid holiday, so yeah, it's sick.
Let's not reminisce about them too much.
Back to me. This is my episode, Liam.
This is like
joking. That's me joking.
It's a chance to vent if you need it, but I mean, you don't need it. You know. I think it's important to recognise the differences, but also then not live in the jealousy and live in like the. I don't.
Like I accept that this is my life. It is. I have full control over it. And I could have kept my YouTube channel going. I don't know how successful it would have become, but like I made that decision. I'm not a YouTuber. I'm a lifeguard. End of. Yeah, it's frustrating, but it's my choice.
It's a certain like transition to make. I wanted to touch on the mental health side of being a YouTuber and how you experienced it, and whilst you may not have been as successful as your friends, how you sort of dealt with any particular incidents that maybe come to mind that you recall. You know, what maybe you've experienced whilst being a YouTuber, the good and the bad. Like, I'm not just looking for bad here, don't get me wrong. But yeah, how you experienced it. What did you feel?
Well, I was quite fortunate when I had my YouTube channel. I didn't really get much hate. Didn't really get trolled that much, because I feel like the trolls are quite jealous, and I don't think many people were jealous of my channel. You would be more jealous of Eve Bennett or Molly Thompson because of the numbers and the success that they have. But recently I've had someone harassing me on Instagram about me being racist, apparently, because I don't post about every single like current affair ever.
Oh my God. I had a debate with Jade.
Oh really?
Not about you. I had a debate about this because she made that video on Black Lives Matter on her channel, and I asked her I was so proud of this question. I asked her like an absolute banger question. Basically, because these guys have got like high profile accounts and stuff like that, I asked her whether she felt pressured to approach the issue, and then whether she felt pressured in the way that she approached it as well, because people getting attacked for doing the Blackout Tuesday stuff, and whether they did certain things but not others, they were in the clear, or whether they just, did one thing and they were fine, or if they did nothing, then people were like attacking them. And it's like, how to know where that line was. So it's really interesting that you're also experiencing something like that. What's happening with that?
Well, I say that they've stopped, but you just don't know. But this person was making account after blocking them, which is just crazy. Like, you have that much effort to harass someone, but basically saying that I was racist because I wasn't posting about this issue and this issue in this country. And I don't know, I just think it's because people have more time on their hands because of quarantine. I've never experienced anything like this, and everyone that I've told this to has said this is ridiculous. Like, you post things that you're genuinely passionate about. You post a lot about current affairs on your Instagram stories. It's very obvious that you care about social issues. That got me really upset, to be honest, because I've never had anything like that. And once again, that was frustrating because they just kept making account after account and coming back for more. But hopefully they've stopped now.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, I think it's always challenging to approach like current affairs because you'll never do enough in some people's eyes, and you just can't gauge it very well in the sort of bubble that is social media. And I try personally not to approach it too much, just because, you know, you feel like you're always going to say something wrong that someone's not going to agree with. But then I was speaking to people on this podcast, and they've argued the opposite of being like, you know, you shouldn't be afraid to say something wrong. At least you're trying to, you know, start a conversation, and if you are wrong, then at least you've got the opportunity to learn from your mistakes if you're willing to do that. But yeah, it's a difficult situation, especially if you're being harassed about things that you haven't said, that people are twisting to make it look like you're what you're not, which is I mean, you can't escape that in a way, because, you know, you can't say that you're not something you haven't said. So, you know, you basically just gotta just ignore it and try and
exactly
try and just avoid it.
Just block them every time and just carry on. That's what I did. So
yeah. Well, I hope that resolves itself for sure.
Thanks.
Trying to make it a bit more positive, if we're gonna go that way.
Okay.
Is there any moment that you've been particularly proud of that you did during the YouTube era for you, that you enjoyed doing the most, or perhaps a video that you did, or someone that you met, or something like that?
This is so bad because I have the worst memory, and I literally I'm the type of person where if I'm done with a chapter of my life, like, it's been repressed in the back of my
and repressed,
mind. Yeah. So the YouTube days, I don't really remember. I'm not gonna lie, but I just think it's, you know, I'm proud of every event that I got invited to. I've met a lot of cool people, made a lot of cool friends from being on YouTube, and it's just the experiences that I've been able to have due to having a YouTube channel. What else? Like, put me on the spot here, Liam.
There's no pressure, honestly. It's a good job you're a photographer, though, because then you can save the memories and you don't have to remember them.
Yeah, exactly. From now on, I will just take a picture instead of having them up in here, because it just doesn't seem to work. Just that's my answer, really. The experiences, every experience that I have, I'm very grateful for, and I won't forget them. Let's put it that way.
So I wanted to chat about sort of, because this is something that is very prevalent to you, and we had a bit of a chat about this in the pre-interview, and it's about mental health and fitness, and I thought it might be based on your job as well, how it's quite important that they're often interlinked, and especially with the last few months, it's been a real drive for a lot of people to stay healthy, but it's also been an opportunity from a lot of people to let it slip and not be as healthy as they could be and not get as much exercise. So I did this fun little tangent actually for you. I did this fun little segment on the radio, because I do a radio show as well. You might not be able to guess that I love the sound of my own voice. I did this fun little segment where I researched the top UK workout songs, right? And Dua Lipa's track "Don't Start Now" was the top UK workout song. It was the one everyone was listening to whilst doing their home workouts and stuff. So I did this little segment where I found out some of the creative ways that people were working out, and I intercut it with parts of the song. So basically I found out this one girl was, she'd dragged a pair of roller skates from her garage and taken them to Whitby or Bridlington or something like that, and it has this massive parade that goes past loads of these colourful sheds along the seaside, and she'd basically just roller skated the whole way to the main town and like recorded like this funny music video, because she plays acoustic guitar as well, so she'd like incorporated roller skating with being creative and you know, creating something for a music page, and I absolutely loved that, and I shared it as part of the show, and I found that hilarious, and it was absolute gold. But yeah, it was inspiring, and the point of that segment was to like try and share some like wholesome and fun ways that people have been trying to keep fit, to hopefully maybe, you know, encourage someone who's, you know, maybe on the fence to maybe try and, you know, go out and do something, basically. Just a little fun thing to do. I mean, this is saying, of course, that student radio gets any listeners whatsoever, but it felt like a fun little bit to do. A lot of my friends, obviously, going back to work, I feel sorry for you when you mentioned about the 12-hour shift yesterday. But have you been enjoying it? You must have been enjoying it a little bit. A little bit.
By a little bit, do you mean
maybe
that
maybe
much?
less? Maybe less than a little bit.
I don't know. I would be enjoying the routine aspect of it if my rota was the same as before coronavirus. But there have been lots of people who are still on furlough. We've had people like transfer from different centres just to help out. Someone's just left. So I'm basically doing a lot more work than what I used to be like doing before coronavirus. So for example, this week I had a 12-hour shift yesterday. That was the start of my week, and I've got another 6 days in a row. Not 12 hours, but 6 days in a row.
Yeah.
So the routine, if my normal rota was there, I would be enjoying the routine because my old rota was like friendly, it was nice. This one is evil, so I'm not really enjoying it, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, I feel for you. I want to try and like put you in a positive mindset about lifeguards now. So I know you said that you don't have the best memory, but can you think of any? Yeah, getting the memory going. Can you think of any like funny accidents that you've witnessed or funny things that have happened whilst you've been a lifeguard? There must be stuff that happens. I mean, just for context, just to set you off.
All right.
I once had a birthday party at a swimming pool. I feel like that's a classic thing when you're growing up to have a swimming pool birthday party.
Oh yes.
Get the old inflatable obstacle course out, and everyone's absolutely vibing. I was violently ill in the days leading up to this party. So it basically meant that I couldn't participate, and I was obviously like, the fact that it was my birthday and I couldn't participate in this was kind of depressing. But whilst sat in the viewing area for the swimming pool, this massive klaxon just went out, and it turned out that someone was drowning in the pool on my birthday.
Oh my god.
Which is, cause she's fine, just to clarify, she was fine. But it's hilarious to look back at it now and remember that.
I thought you were going to say that you had projectile vomited into the pool and some poor lifeguard had to come and scoop it up.
Why is that triggering memories for you?
Yes.
No, I was a bit even back then. I was conscientious.
Thanks, Liam.
even as an 8-year-old or whatever it was. But yeah, what is there anything that I mean, that is a story of being ill and drowning all at once. But what would you say has been particularly memorable for the last year or however long you've been doing?
Wow, last week we had a session.
This early?
Yeah, this early. Or was it a few days ago? I'm pretty sure it was a few days ago, actually. I've, again, repressed this memory because it's just embarrassing. We had a last lane swim, and there's this guy who loves to take his time. He was there until the last second, and he loves to do stretches on poolside. He loves to take his time, okay? So I left him a good 20 minutes to go get changed, exit the centre, because the centre's going to shut in like 5 minutes. You would think someone would read the room and just think, oh, these employees have been here all day. I really hope they can get home early, have a nice dinner, go to sleep and start it all again tomorrow. No.
Yeah.
So my duty manager was like, Olivia, that's my full name, go and check that everyone's out of the centre and you can go home. I checked the female, checked the dry side, checked wet side, checked the family on wet side, and I left the male to last, and I opened the door to shout, is everyone out? This old man was standing there, fully naked, in front of the mirror, right by the door. Bearing in mind, I had given him 20 minutes in that place to get changed, and he wasn't even changed. He was fully naked. I was like, oh, sorry. And now I can't look at him. Whenever I see him, I'm just like, oh, old man bum, disgusting.
Oh, old man bum. I don't want to put it in your mind what he might have been doing in there for 20 minutes.
I really don't. We think he's a dodgy guy as well, so I don't even want to think about it.
Oh dear.
Yeah, funny story.
Dodgy.
And a couple of fights in the pool, and yeah, that's about it really.
See, I love that because that is, in my opinion, the least likely place you would have a fight, in a place where it's physically harder to move.
You would think.
In a pool, do you have to break them up? I'm assuming you have to break them up. You just dive in.
No, I don't get in. I
just like,
do not get in for that sort of behaviour. So this fight happened in the men's only session, where, in my opinion, there was just too much testosterone in that pool. I don't like the men's only swim because it is so stressful.
How much testosterone can there be with loads of old blokes wearing like Speedos?
Just too much, Liam, just too much. So these two guys start fighting because one won't let the other one overtake. How silly is that? Like, you can't just, talk about it like grown men and just carry on with your swim. No, you have to actually have a fist fight in the pool. So I'm like whistling.
I don't know swimming etiquette, so you either educate me or I'm just going to be like...
Use your common sense, Liam.
He's not letting me overtake, therefore fist fight.
Yeah, so I just was like whistling at them, like stop. And then obviously I try and go over there and, force them apart, but I am, not that strong. And then I have to radio the duty manager to come out and just like kick them out. So, yeah.
Well, that is
you just have
certainly
to
a
laugh.
busy day at work.
You have to laugh.
Yeah. That is funny. Oh dear. What would you... I mean, we're going to move... Those were brilliant stories. I love those. Thank you.
No worries.
I love finding out funny stuff. What in terms of like fitness and mental health, obviously you never went to university, but you understand the importance of it. Why would you say that it's important that people at university or whilst doing a job or college that they make sure that they get fitness and make sure that they're aware of how important it is to get a bit of both, even if you're not into like lifting huge weights? And why is it important? Why should people be doing it more?
I think just to have that slotted, dedicated alone time, so I'm working between 8 to 12 hours per day in the same environment with the same people, and going to the gym is just my time to put my earphones in and focus on myself and focus on what I'm doing there and then. And I feel like, I don't know if it's the same with every exercise, but I feel like when I'm weightlifting in particular, I'm so focused on my breathing and my form and everything. I'm literally not thinking about anything else that's going on in my life. It's literally an escape. And I know not everyone likes exercise, but it is scientifically proven that it is good for you mentally. You will get a better night's sleep after exhausting your body, after a good workout. You will be releasing endorphins. You will just feel a buzz. You'll feel more awake after doing exercise. So I do think it's so linked to mental health. It's not just physical at all. Yeah.
That's a brilliant answer. You've knocked it out of the park.
Thanks, Liam. You're just gassing me up on this podcast. I need to do this like weekly with you. The first episode that I did, I was hoping this guy called Dylan, the guy who originally like encouraged me to try this as an idea. Not that this is like some original idea, but I was hoping that he would be like my co-host, but he ended up not being able to. But yeah, like it's going through my mind about trying to find a co-host. If you can fit me into your busy schedule, I would. No, that's funny that. So this is completely in your court as to whether you want to go into this. But I was
interested to find out about your sort of journey with mental health, I've documented my personal journey on this channel, which I will encourage you to go and check out if you're interested. Just because I don't want to have go over the same story too many times on multiple podcasts, but you should definitely check it out if you're interested. And just to find out a bit more about you and what the journey's been for you. We talked a bit about YouTube and just more maybe generally, whatever you're comfortable with.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is what my channel sort of became to be about. Like, I became sort of a mental health influencer because, once again, my YouTube channel was just capturing what was going on in my life every year or every moment that I was recording. And it just so happened that when I was 16, so like 4 years ago now, my dad became severely depressed. So not only was I dealing with A-level stress, I was dealing with my dad being severely depressed with psychosis, going in and out of mental institutions and hospitals. And then, did I say A-level stress or was it head girl stress? Basically, 2017 was a very stressful year for me. And I had to deal with something that I've never had to deal with in my life before. Very stressful year, a lot of crying. That's like, when people ask me about my mental health journey, that is where I sort of start from. And then, unfortunately, that whole thing had sort of triggered my own anxiety. So I had sort of severe anxiety for about 2 years. And then the start of 2019, I got therapy, which was amazing. I tell everyone to get therapy because it's the best sort of self-care I've ever done for myself, ever. And then 2019 was the best year of my life so far because I put myself first. I realised therapy was needed. Had sort of a shambolic New Year's Eve party. All
right. Any context, or is that...
That was just the breaking point. I think you realise with mental health that when friends and family tell you, you need help, this is affecting us, this is affecting people around you, that is when you realise you do need professional help. So New Year's Eve was just that night for me. But yeah,
it just came to a head there.
Yeah. That's the journey. Briefly.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's inspiring, I think, for many people to hear similar stories and, find out that that's not uncommon and it's not something that, you're going through alone in a way, if you know what I mean.
For sure. When I was in school, when I'd go, out of my lessons crying, I'd go to different teachers, and every single teacher gave me a story about how mental health had affected them. I had one teacher who was like, my brother is really depressed and he called me last night, a lot of trouble was happening. Another teacher was like, my cousin is actually in the same mental institution as your dad, which is just, that just made me feel so much better that this was happening to someone else. And it was a teacher who I looked up to. So everyone's got their own story, for sure. You just don't realise until you ask about it or if they're comfortable with speaking about it.
Yeah. That was the big thing that I wanted to use this for, was, finding people that had those experiences. And a lot of people like you are vocal about it. But that's the main reason why I tried to start this, because, as I said on the other episode, I talk about it a lot more, but I didn't have, I was excited to go to university, but I didn't have the best experience of it. And it got a lot better, but it started out really almost rock bottom. It was pretty bad. And I just thought that if I had that experience, probably someone else did, and I think you guys are a good source for, a lot of people relate to you in ways that you probably don't realise. Not always good, but quite often in a positive way. And yeah, I thought it might be important to find out more about you guys, and you especially for this one. Do you feel like it's on the up for you? You said that the last year has been like one of the best of your life so far. Do you still feel like it's on the upwards trajectory? You're enjoying life?
For sure. I think 2017 was rock bottom, as you've described it. Therapy was needed. Glad I got that done. If I hadn't, I probably would have been a lot worse in 2019 and this year, but that properly sorted me out. 2019 was the year for myself, so I got started in the gym, did my gig photography, jumped jobs, did everything for myself, which is something that I really needed. And that really set boundaries, really set clear boundaries for myself. So now that I have those in place, I definitely know how to take care of myself a lot more. And I know who deserves to be in my life and who doesn't deserve to be in my life. So definitely onwards from here on out.
We sound like some sort of bad like 1970s like commercial. I don't know. It's like it's all on the upwards from here on out.
Do this and you'll have a happy life.
Yeah. Did final question about this, but did those experiences impact, or did the impact at all, or have any sort of influence on your decision in terms of career, or in terms of YouTube, or in terms of university, or were those sort of already cemented ideas, like not wanting to go to university and eventually stopping YouTube? Have you recognized that it was those issues that perhaps led to that decision, or is it more of a case of, they just weren't your passions and it didn't?
I would say the one out of those three that you mentioned was stopping YouTube, because, I'd be daily vlogging my day at school and it got to the point where I'd go running out of a lesson, crying my eyes out because of what was going on at home. And I'd be like, I can't vlog this. Like, my vlog can't just be me crying. I don't want to be negative on my channel. And it just got to a point where I was like, I'm not happy. And I just need to take a break for myself and my mental health. So that definitely was a big impact on stopping YouTube. But in terms of like gig photography, not wanting to go to uni was already decided. Gig photography hadn't entered my life yet, so yeah, just the one.
Well, it's good that you've mentioned gig photography. We're all about those slick transitions.
Oh yes,
on this show.
Very slick.
Wow, very slick. You have no idea how excited I've been to speak to you about gig photography. I'm so excited that
you're excited.
Because it's one of the biggest, like not gig photography, but gigs and like music and performing is one of my biggest passions in life. And as someone who's been on the other side of the camera on stage, it's interesting to talk to someone who is passionate about photographing artists, and you photographed some pretty high profile artists in your time, in your limited time on this planet, which is exciting. But just for a bit of context about my experience with gig photographers so far, which is basically, so I joined a band at university, which I absolutely loved performing with. And we played a few gigs here and there, and the photographers started to pop up, as they usually do, as you get to bigger venues and stuff. And my personal experience with gig photographers never seemed to be very good. Because every photo I saw of me was either I was hidden behind something, I was turned away, I was like, I've got... Oh dear me, this is hilarious.
Examples.
I've got examples to show you now, but it's always the case. I don't know if you've ever felt this when you're personally doing photography. The people that you photograph are probably your main focus is just on either the front man, etc., etc. But that's what I felt when I was performing as well. And some of these examples, it's literally just like, you'll see. Right, let's open these up. Apologies if it's a little bit slow. This is what all the editing is about. So this first one is, I don't know if you can tell where I am. It's a little bit difficult. I'm not sure what this black smudge is at the top of the frame. And then there's just the front man. I mean, he got a decent photo out of it.
So, just to be clear, this was sent as a final edit.
Yeah, I searched these on Facebook, and this came as part of the bundle that were submitted for this event. Here's another one.
Artsy. Is that even in focus?
Oh,
The soundboard is in focus.
Yeah, that's my
it.
snazzy little effects board there.
Oh, okay.
This one's not too bad. I mean, there's the back of someone's head in the bottom right hand corner.
Thing is, I do feel for them, man. Like, when you're first starting off, the lighting is so mad with gig photography, and you have no control over it. You have to know your settings. I can tell from that light, the highlights are too exposed, whereas the musicians need that light on them, and it's just so frustrating.
Yeah. Here's another one. This one is a bit worse in terms of lighting. I'm even more hidden.
Ooh, that angle.
And then this one is a killer. Look at this one. It's like, how do you even... It's between two heads.
Oh, I feel so bad for them.
Don't feel bad. It's student photographers. But anyway. So that's been my experience of gig photography, which, as you can tell, hasn't been the most positive. But what I really wanted to do, which is what you get up to, is amazing. We're going to do what we did with the Instagram game, where I've taken from some of your advice as well, and I found some of the photos that need more context or how you got them, and I've got some questions that I'm going to line up for you. It's basically like how you managed to get it, whether there's a story behind it, perhaps the inspiration, stuff like that. Right, so this one, I believe is
Burner Boy.
Burner Boy, yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the context around this one?
Right, so if you don't know Burner Boy, he is like the biggest sort of African artist in like the pop world. He's been featured on quite a few popular songs. The arena was packed. He was very popular. This was Wembley Arena, so a massive one for me. I was so gassed when I got this. The context behind this is that apparently there were meant to be about 20 photographers in the photo pit, but it was just me and this other guy called Andre who had turned up on time. We had been waiting outside of the arena for about an hour because we were told we had to wait for the other photographers to then be escorted to the photo pit, because obviously you can't trust photographers. You have to be escorted everywhere.
Yeah.
So we were waiting. We kept asking people if we could go in because we were missing the support acts. And if you're shooting for a publication, they want every single artist who is going to perform. So I think we missed the first support act because they were adamant that we had to wait. We then got escorted to the stage, but we weren't allowed to go in the photo pit yet. We were still waiting on the other photographers. No other photographers turned up. It was just me and him waiting for about 2 hours to just do our job, which was really frustrating. But yeah, that's the main context behind Burner Boy. It was a really good show actually, and very proud of it.
Yeah, it's a cool photo. You'll be able to see it on the screen while we're talking about them. But yeah, it's a cool photo. Is there a particular moment when you're taking them where you think that's the shot, or are you just running and gunning it as you know?
Running and gunning it, to be honest. The lighting is just, as I said before, it's just so hard to control. Once you feel like you've got the right settings for a set, like for the next 2 minutes that you have, you just go for it and then check while you edit and just pray that you've got a good shot. That's how I do it anyway. Probably not the most professional gig photographer, but oh well.
Right, these next two are Jay Huss at Lovebox. We've got quite a few of these from Lovebox. due to when we talked about it over email about which ones I should be searching for. So this is these two are amazing. I love these.
Thank you. Well, this is
so
so
this
funny.
When it loads, there we go. This one is awesome. Look at that. What's happening? How did you manage that?
Well, this is so funny. Like, this is one of those moments in your life where you think everything is going to go wrong, but actually, like, it's a good mistake. You know, when you just have those sort of moments where you just think everything's going wrong, but actually it turns out to be really good. Yeah. So Lovebox, I had won a competition with Take More Photos, which is like a collaborative group that is trying to get people to become successful photographers. So I won a photo pass with Lovebox with a group of people. We got there and we spent the whole day fighting the PR ladies because we had got given a pass to basically just bring our cameras into the park, whereas we were thinking we were going to get an actual photo pass, which means that you can go in the photo pit, which is in front of the crowd and in between the artist and the crowd. Yeah. But we didn't get given that. We only got given a pass to bring it in our kit. So the whole day, like Jay Huss, I think, was the last one out of the day. The whole day we were trying to get this pass. It was the most stressful time. I was on my period as well, so even more stressful.
It's like an apex of events. Yeah. You're crying as well.
I was crying during this set, Jay Huss. Imagine me behind the camera taking this picture. I was sobbing because I was just so frustrated with today. Like, it was meant to be the best day ever, like Lovebox, sick, got this job, and I just felt like I wasn't going to be able to get any sick shots from the side. But my friend Saskia, who's amazing, she was like, no, Liv, you have to keep going, you have to keep going. So I did, and I got this shot, and like literally everyone who I ask says that this is one of their favourite shots that I've ever taken, which is just mind-blowing to me because the context is just so like out of shape for this. Like, it's just,
I didn't anticipate the story behind that, I have to say.
Exactly.
And that makes it all the more impressive. And I think is a testament to surrounding yourself with positive people. Like, big ups to your friend who got you to keep going.
Love you.
No, that's sick. And this second photo as well is also really cool. Like, getting the light rays on behind like people on stage is always so cool. But yeah, the next photo is Loyal Kana, right? This always, let's see if it takes ages. No, it's up finally. Right, how did this one come about? This is also at Lovebox, I think.
Yeah.
So this was another one where you've like struggled all day.
So this one, me and Saskia actually snuck into the photo pit because at this point we were so frustrated that we didn't get the actual pass that we somehow managed to get into the photo pit for Loyal Kana's set. But I think it was like the first 3 songs, which is what you're usually allowed. Yeah. So this was like, so imagine a curve of the day. Like, we're starting off low. We've realised we have not got the photo pit pass. Then we've got Loyal Kana's set where I've managed to sneak in and we thought we could stay behind the stage and like stay in the photo pit area. Got kicked out of the photo pit area and stayed out of the photo pit area. So this was probably the highlight of the day. This is when I was feeling my happiest, and it just, it's nice to see a smile on Loyal Kana's face because I was probably smiling at this point as well.
Yeah. Both of you smiling. Love to see it.
Yeah.
That's a fun photo.
Yeah.
Oh, well done.
And 2 of my friends were actually in the crowd and I saw them when I was in the photo pit. That was a great moment, and I listened
just waving to them as you get kicked out.
Yeah. Bye guys. But yeah, no, we listened to a lot of Loyal Kana with my friends, especially when I was having that downtime in 2017. So just being there was like a full circle moment. So yeah.
I love it.
Really cool.
Right, this next one, I feel like anyone who goes onto your website to check out your photos will immediately see this photo and just be like, what? It's the one that you took of Lewis Capaldi, which I don't know where he is in this photo because he's just on this blue velvet background thing. But where were you? How did you get this photo? Because it looks like you're in a photo pit, or I'm guessing you're very close to him or using some sort of long lens. So tell me about this one.
This was the same arena gig that I took the photo of Louis Tomlinson at. This is when I thought I was talking to Lewis Capaldi's manager, but it was Louis Tomlinson's manager.
Yeah.
So this was one of the only good shots of Lewis that I got, because this guy is not a performer. He's a great singer, but he does not move. He stands there behind the microphone, and that is all you're getting. So as soon as he was moving, I was like,
go.
Yeah, so this is the best one I got of him doing some peace signs and a bit of a smile. His press wall photos were a lot better than the performance photos, but yeah, this is the one I picked out a lot.
I'm going to say that's odd, because whenever I see an interview with Lewis, he's always really animated and really like bouncy
that's
and bubbly.
That's what I thought as well. Like, he's so funny and yeah, like you say, animated, but I think he gets into the zone with his singing, and all his songs are very deep, so he can't like be like waving about.
This one is of Louis Tomlinson. This is a pretty awesome shot of all the fireworks in the background going off, the full pyrotechnic side of things. Was this before or after? No, this was before, wasn't it?
Yeah. So this was before. I was probably thinking about when am I going to get my picture of Louis. But another full circle moment. Like I said, I've been directioner since I was 10. And this was 4 months into doing gig photography. So this was absolutely massive for me. Still is. And right before these fireworks went off, I had been taking pictures of the crowd, because there were these amazing girls in like the first 3 rows yelling their lungs out. Like, I knew that they would lose their voice, and it took me back to being like 12 again at a One Direction concert, loving my life. Yeah. And then I turned around and these fireworks went off, so it was just like it was meant to be.
Just captured the moment in time.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
Oh, it's making me emotional. I haven't actually seen these pictures in a while.
Oh, I'm glad you're able to relive it a little bit. This next one, which is the last one, I'm not sure whether you expected me to pick this one. It's I don't understand how you've got this situation to happen, right? I picked a photo by you photographed Masterpiece. I'm a personal, really big fan of his music. He's not a very big artist. He's quite a small artist, and I found out about him because of student radio, because I'm a bit of a music geek, so I kind of have to know about these guys. But I love his music, and I've just found a new track from him recently that I'm like, you do that thing where you find a new track and you just can't stop listening to it over and over and over again. But this is the photo that you took. This is the last photo. It's sort of a bit of a GIF, as you can see. It animates.
3D GIF.
Oh, I love it. Getting so interactive on this episode.
Even showing the GIFs.
Yeah. What happened? How do you get to that? What's he? Why is he? I mean, he looks like a really nice guy and a really approachable guy.
He's so nice, the loveliest guy. So I shot him at Islington, O2 Islington, because I was their house photographer for about a year in 2019. That was another milestone for me. Took some photos of him. He did not share any of my photos after this gig, even though I tagged him in like everything, made a GIF for him back then, and I was quite impressed because I made like the writing all squiggly. Took my time on it. And I knew that he was going to be up and coming when I shot that concert. I just loved his vibe, had so much talent. I knew he was going to become like a really popular artist. And then I got asked to do Annie Mac Presents, which is this, in the Bussey building in Peckham. And I was gassed because that is round the corner from me. And usually concerts are in North London. It takes me about 2 hours to go there and get home, and it's a big journey.
Yeah.
I saw he was on the set, and I was like, oh my God, I have to find his manager's email and be like, look, I took photos of Masterpiece before. Can I do some like interview shots? Can I do some like more editorial shots for you? And they were so chill about it. And yeah, like not only was I there for a publication, I was there as his photographer of that night. And yeah, it was really cool just to get these gifts and take some more like fashion shots, because he has got some really cool clothes, and yeah, he's just a cool artist. So
yeah, I can tell you're passionate about it, and I love it. It looks so cool.
Thank you.
But well done. That is pretty much it. We've gone through the most interesting photos that you suggested and some of the ones that I found. And I found it fascinating learning about the context behind it, because I've not done gig photography, but being on the other side and performing, it's interesting to find out how you do it and how you get some of these iconic shots. So thank you so much for providing the context of those.
Oh, thank you for taking me through it. It's been nice to see everything again.
Yeah, a bit of a trip down memory lane, reminisce, get some
Definitely.
positive vibes going. Before we wrap up this game, I wanted to try and get to the nitty-gritty about what makes you tick, as it were, as a gig photographer. Some of the things that, you've had to, or that maybe not as talked about, I suppose. But this is a very simple question, but how do you feel that you get better at taking photos? How do you feel like you've improved? Is it finding inspiration, following other gig photographers? What's your recipe?
I think practice, number one, is so important. Not only are you with gig photography, it is all a transition. Like, you are gonna go from your local pub or local student performance to maybe an O2 local venue pretty quickly. You just have to build up a small portfolio, make sure that your composition is good and everything, and you will do it quite quickly. I went from the first week before Christmas in 2018, did such small local gigs, and then got the arena gig in May. So I worked hard and managed to transform my portfolio in a few months.
So this is something achievable that you think people could, if they wanted to, get to stuff that you're doing, like photographing big artists?
For sure, you just have to love it, and you have to put a lot of time and effort. I may have got there in a few months, but whenever I speak about my gig photography, my friends are always like, no, you did actually work so hard for those 5 months. You put everything into making this portfolio, getting to this arena gig. Didn't just come by chance, put the hard work in. But yeah, practice definitely is the main thing at getting good. And you definitely need to follow other gig photographers, because that's your inspiration. You need to have some sort of inspiration to keep you going. And also knowing what the trends are. So that GIF that I made of Masterpiece? Yeah. At that time, 3D GIFs were trending. So I wanted to do one with him, because that is what artists were looking for.
That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah. What's trending at the minute?
Nothing, because there's no concerts due to coronavirus.
Yeah. I mean, when this episode comes out, there may be a bit more in terms of performing going on. Hopefully. You might be getting up to God knows what, going to gigs and stuff.
I do miss it.
Yeah, it strikes me as being something that is proper adrenaline, rushing when you're trying to get that shot. And I've had similar things with doing film and TV stuff. It looks like a lot of fun. Something I wanted to talk about that's come out recently in sort of the realm of sort of representation of women in music. This is a multi-layered issue, which isn't as simple, I don't believe, as just they're not. So this is about Leeds and Reading Festival. They've recently just brought out their lineup, which was heavily male dominated. But I'd argue that it's not as simple as, they've got some hidden agenda that they don't want to book female artists, which is my opinion. But I do see that there is a heavy weighting. I mean, Doja Cat is on this list, but she's way down. In my opinion, Doja Cat could headline, in my opinion. If you had the power and control of Leeds Fest and you could make a lineup, right?
No.
Who's going to be on that lineup? I mean, you could do it from the avenue of who haven't you photographed yet that you want to photograph, and then create it based on that. But who would you want to see performing in 2021 at Leeds Fest or already?
Out of those headliners, I would select Catfish and the Bottlemen, because I think they do fit the whole Leeds and Reading genre. and I haven't photographed them, and I would like to photograph catfish and a bottomman a lot. Stormzy,
yeah, from
I'll allow
all
Stormzy. Yeah, I'll allow Stormzy because Stormzy's great. I love a bit of Stormzy, and would love to photograph him. I would put Doja Cat as a headliner. I really would. She's sick. She's changing the game. Or Megan Thee Stallion, with WAP. Imagine WAP at Leeds and Reading and Leeds. The crowd would go mad. Like, I just don't get it. Like, why have you not hopped onto the trends? People would absolutely love your festival if you just looked on TikTok and realised what was trending. Obviously, you can't put your whole festival around that, but...
No, what do you think about TikTok trends? Because I hate it. I hate it. As someone who does radio and, organises playlists and, has to be aware of what's trending and what's not, seeing videos going viral on TikTok and then seeing that song just rocketing up the chart, and it's like, just stop. Just, stop making trashy... 15-second songs that just suck. I'm sorry. I'll stop ranting.
I do get that.
But what do you think about the TikTok trends, though?
I think it's all right if it's keeping people happy, and exercising as well. Dance is great bit of exercise.
I'm all for that.
I do like it from that point of view. I like that people are enjoying themselves. The music, I agree with you, is not fab. And I think, there are really hardworking artists out there who want to make really good music and put their heart and soul into it. And it must be really annoying to see all these TikTok songs rocket up. Which
I get what producers... Yeah, I get what producers are doing. Producers are seeing anything that goes on... Yeah, anything that goes viral on TikTok makes money. So they approach artists and they say, if you make a relatively mediocre song that has a clippable 15-second bit that's something people can make a TikTok to, then the chances of it going viral and then making them loads of money goes, it's more likely. Yeah. And I just think that approach of making music is only gonna hinder artists who are trying to make something of their music, and it's challenging, and it stresses me out.
No, I get you on that one. I do.
But yeah, I'm way too in depth and involved in this sort of stuff.
I've fired him up. He's angry.
Yeah, you're getting to know the real me. No,
not so positive.
When this episode comes out will be probably a month and a half, maybe 2 months from now. Do you think you'd maybe see any public pressure force Reading and Leeds to maybe reconsider the lineup, or do you think it's set in stone?
I think it's set in stone, I think they're going to argue that this is not an agenda, this is not them trying to discriminate, and they've just picked a sick lineup, which is unfortunate.
Don't get me wrong, it's a great lineup.
Yeah, it is. But it's 2020, and we expect better from festivals. We expect better from male-dominated industries to make a space for successful female artists. I don't think they'll change it. I think they'll still get backlash. But the thing is, I know people will still go because people love Reading and Leeds, and I don't think a lineup like that's going to stop them. No.
Yeah. Hashtag get woke, Reading. No, I hate get woke. Anyway, that's another episode.
It's another podcast.
Yeah, there's many. We just talked about marriage, getting woke. Love it. Who you mentioned a few artists that you wanted to photograph that you haven't done yet. Who else would you want to photograph?
I'm obsessed with Sigrid. I think she's really down to earth, and if I were to be anyone's tour photographer, where you have to travel with them and be with them 24/7.
Is that the goal? Is that the goal? Eventual goal? Being a
I don't know if it is anymore. I would love to give it a go. I would love to go on tour with someone and experience that, but I think until I experience that, I don't know if it's for me. Like, I'm very much an experienced, like, practical kind of person, so it's a goal of mine, but I won't, like, be like, I used to want to be, like, a tour photographer, but then I realised it's not that sustainable of a job, and your girl wants to buy a house at some point in her life, and you just can't do that as a photographer.
You're making plans for the future, love it.
Yeah. So yeah, Sigrid I would love, because she moves so much on stage as well. You just get some sick shots. Who else? Obviously Beyonce, Rihanna, just all the Doja Cat,
Of course.
Great female artists, especially, for sure.
I hope one day you do get to photograph them, because that would be cool to catch up with you and then go through more photos and how you managed to get them.
That'd be sick. I would love that.
Did you see Doja Cat performing at the MTV? What was it? The MTV thing? The MTV Awards?
I don't think I did. You know.
Right. Let's do a little spontaneous segment where I get the video up and I show you it, because I'm all about that content.
Spontaneous.
Oh dear.
Is this
will just definitely get copyrighted though, won't it?
Oh yeah. No, Liam, get your money.
I'm not getting paid for any of this. Are you mental?
Oh. You should put ads on it.
Oh no, I can't do that. Right, I am going to. You know what? That's another episode in itself. Putting in video ads, I absolutely hate them.
Oh, okay.
It's the death of content is in video ads.
Your viewers are like, yes, right now. No ads.
Oh dear. Right, I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit just so it doesn't deafen us. Right, this is Doja Cat. That's sick, man. Yeah, that's what she was getting up to on the 31st of August. I mean, for a bit of we can't all be Doja Cat. But I think for a bit of context, like, if you're actually on that set, none of that is actually real. Like, it's all done inside a computer. So for those performers, they're probably either just stood in a motion capture studio or stood on a green screen. So for when they're performing it, and then to get the colours to match on their costumes, they'll have big lights that basically are synced up, because it gets really complicated nowadays. You can have like a live mock-up of what the 3D environment will look like while they perform it, so that things like lights can react to like, you know, as it's happening, so that they get the correct lighting for the costumes and stuff, because those costumes reflect, and you want the reflections on the costumes to match in the finished video. So yeah, that's most likely what they did to shoot that. But it's not cheap.
Cool. No.
It's not cheap, but no. I'm glad you were able to come on this podcast. That's pretty much it. We're going to wrap it up. Yeah, we've played a few games. You've checked out some stuff that I didn't plan for, but that's what it's all about. Is there anything that you want to plug that you're doing at the minute that you want to share with people, or anything? 30 seconds. You've got nothing.
Photography Instagram.
Is it at Live Rook Photos?
Yes, it is. That's probably it. And if anyone wants to look at my portfolio, if you're interested in getting into gig photography, it's www.liverook.com. Yeah, that's all I want to plug, because I'm not really doing anything else. Boring.
No, definitely check those out. She's got some amazing photos, and it'll inspire you if you're thinking about getting into music photography. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. You can check it out on YouTube to find some of the highlights across the show. Make sure to give us a good rating on Apple and Apple Podcasts, and wherever you've been listening to this. I hope you've had a great day and you've enjoyed this one. This is Liam Daly with Live Rook on episode 13. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.